Welcome to this explainer, Reframing the Struggle in Ministry. Let's just dive right in. Look, if you're tuning in right now, there's a really good chance you're tired, like bone tired. Whether you're leading a team, volunteering, or just pouring your heart into your community week in and week out, you know firsthand that doing good work is absolutely exhausting. We pour ourselves out for others, and eventually the well just runs dry, right? We feel stretched way too thin. And if we're being completely honest with ourselves, sometimes we lie awake wondering exactly how much longer we can keep up this pace before something breaks. It is a heavy burden to carry. So let's unpack that tension today.
So we have to ask, is your hard work leading straight to burnout? Yeah, it's a heavy question, I know. In our society, we absolutely praise the hustle. We applaud the grind, the people who are the very first to arrive and the last to leave. But there's this hidden, very real danger lurking just under the surface of all that dedication. That feeling of deep exhaustion you're carrying, it's not just in your head. It's a massive reality for anyone engaged in serving others. But what if the exhaustion we feel isn't actually about the sheer volume of work we're tackling? What if it's fundamentally about how we view the struggle itself? To help us completely flip our perspective on this, we're going to look closely at a fascinating concept from a book called Joyful Perseverance by Ajith Fernando. Now, Fernando is someone who speaks with immense, hard-earned authority on this subject. He's drawing from over 40 years of frontline ministry experience, specifically his decades of work with Youth for Christ in Sri Lanka. He has navigated the absolute highest highs and the most crushing lows of service over a lifetime. And in Chapter 3 of his book specifically, he tackles this issue of energy-sapping ministry head-on. He offers a perspective that completely challenges our modern assumptions about work, rest, and how to actually avoid burning out. What's really fascinating is a candid admission from Fernando himself, right in the text. He says, quote, "I sometimes receive gentle rebukes from my Western friends about working too hard." I absolutely love the honesty here. Even a seasoned, respected leader who literally wrote the book on joyful perseverance gets called out by his friends for pushing the limits. They're genuinely concerned his intense work ethic is a one-way ticket to burnout. And Fernando owns it. He admits he needs to be highly mindful of the dangers of overworking. But he also pushes back just a little. He suggests that our deep-seated fear of hard work might actually be stemming from entirely the wrong place.
He argues that this intense fear we have about working too hard actually comes from living in a fast-paced culture where the very definition of success is completely distorted. Think about it like being stuck on a treadmill that's cranked up way too fast while wearing a weighted vest. On one side, you've got this success-driven celebrity culture. We're constantly pressured to measure our worth by visible output, platform size, social media reach, the whole shebang. On the other side, you have our own internal, deeply personal feelings of insecurity. When you smash those two forces together, a culture demanding constant visible success and our own internal anxieties, we become driven to succeed using false, incredibly exhausting measures. We run ourselves ragged, trying to prove our worth. That toxic combination right there, that is the true root cause of our exhaustion. And here's the tricky part. Because we're so absorbed in our work, and because we're often driven by those quiet insecurities we just talked about, we are usually completely blind to our own unhealthy drive. We literally can't see the cliff until we're already falling off it. That is exactly why Fernando insists on crucial community safeguards. Family members, accountability partners, close friends, supervisors, professional counselors. We absolutely cannot do this alone. But it's not enough to just have them around. We have to actively give these people permission to speak hard truths into our lives, to warn us when we're spinning out of control. Because honestly, they're going to see the dangers in our pacing long before we ever do. Okay, but right here in Chapter 3 is where Fernando takes a wild, fascinating pivot. Yes, we absolutely must guard against toxic overwork driven by insecurity. But we also can't escape the fact that true ministry is supposed to be hard. It's a feature, not a bug. He points to a specific Greek verb used by the Apostle Paul in Colossians 1:29, Agonizomi. It literally translates to struggling, battling, or wrestling. So the crucial takeaway here is this. Our work is meant to be a strenuous, spiritual battle for people's souls. It's not supposed to be a casual walk in the park. The struggle itself isn't the problem. The struggle is the very nature of the work. Which brings us to the core solution. If the work is a literal, strenuous battle, how do we possibly survive it without breaking? Well, it comes down to a profound, almost backwards equation. Spiritual battle plus God's strength equals rejuvenation. Rejuvenation. Fernando points out that engaging in this spiritual battle using God's strength, while carefully maintaining those community safeguards, doesn't drain us at all. It actually revitalizes us.
When we battle for others, we're kept spiritually alert. It forces us to rely on a power far greater than our own empty human tanks. It keeps us fresh. It's only when we try to fight the battle using our own insecure strength that we completely and utterly burn out.
So, practically speaking, how do we stay in this rejuvenating battle over the long haul without losing our minds? Fernanda breaks it down into 4 super practical steps: personal witness, prayer, counseling, and mentoring or discipling others. Engaging consistently in these specific actions keeps us on our toes spiritually. In fact, Fernando notes a beautiful detail. Even when his friends finally retire from paid vocational ministry, he strongly urges them to just keep doing these 4 things. Why? Because participating in this strenuous, soul-level battle, powered entirely by God's strength, is the exact thing that keeps our own faith vibrant, alive, and thriving right until the very end.
So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Take a hard, honest look at your daily schedule, your never-ending to-do lists, and the stress you're probably carrying in your shoulders right now. In your daily ministry, whose strength are you actually relying on? Are you just grinding away, driven quietly by personal insecurity and the crushing pressure of a celebrity-driven culture, heading blindly toward burnout? Or are you fully engaged in the strenuous, beautiful struggle of Agonizomi, relying completely on the rejuvenating strength of God, surrounded by a community that keeps you grounded? Honestly, the answer to that question changes absolutely everything about how you live and work. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really encourage you to deeply reflect on where your drive is truly coming from today.